4 dark shapes move through the gray light before sunrise. They do not hurry. They do not split up. They move together like one body, not 4. The land they cross feels like it already belongs to them. They were born in Kruger National Park and grew up hunting strong buffalo. Those hunts made them tough. While many lions go their own way, these 5 brothers stayed together, even when life tried to pull them apart. They traveled south into Sabi sands, and animals there sensed change before they arrived. Rangers saw them and searched for a fitting name. They chose Majingilane, meaning the Night Watchman. These 4 lions would rule more land, raise more cubs, and survive more battles than any group before them. Their story would last 8 unforgettable years. They were born between 2004 and 2005, deep inside Kruger National Park, where their pride had built a reputation on one thing: killing buffalo. Not the easy prey, not the sick ones at the edges of the herd. Buffalo, the kind that fight back, that gore lions and leave them broken in the grass. Their mothers hunted buffalo. Their fathers held ground against coalitions that outnumbered them. The Majingilane grew up learning that strength means nothing without strategy. By 2009, they were grown, and the pull of new ground became too strong to ignore. 5 brothers moved south toward Sabi sands. This alone was unusual. Male lions almost never stay together after leaving their birth pride. The world pushes them apart. Hunger, competition, survival, everything argues for going alone. These 5 argued back. They stayed tight, moved as a unit, shared kills without fighting over scraps. Rangers watching them tracked the slow approach and understood something was coming before it arrived. One of the 5 would not survive long enough to see what they built. 4 pushed on. Dark Mane, who would become the alpha. Scar Nose, his constant shadow. Golden Mane, slightly separate, always watching from a distance. Hip Scar, the loner, whose calls sometimes went unanswered even by his brothers. 4 males, one direction, one purpose. The Night Watchmen were coming south, and everything ahead of them was about to change. They hit Sabi sands in late 2009 like weather hits a valley, not all at once, but inevitable once it started. The first pride they found was the Salala, well known to rangers, watched for years, a pride that tourists had followed through good seasons and bad. The Majingilane moved through them in days. 4 of 8 subadults were killed. The 3 mothers and 4 younger lionesses survived, but survival here came with terms. The coalition held the ground. The lionesses, one by one, stopped resisting. They had lost their cubs. They had no males to protect them. Biology and violence pushed in the same direction. The Sparta Pride followed. 2 of 3 cubs were killed. Pride members scattered across territory they had walked their whole lives, now too afraid to call out to each other. The sound of a lion's roar, normally a claim, became a risk. Silence was safer. By early 2011, the Majingilane controlled 5 prides across 26,000 hectares, 3 times the size of Manhattan, held by 4 lions who moved through it in tight formation, patrolling edges, answering challenges, never staying still long enough to show weakness. But the land they wanted was not empty. Something old and violent already owned it. The Mapogo coalition had ruled Sabi sands since 2006. 6 males, infamous across the region, known for a kind of violence that went past what survival required. They had killed over 100 lions. Other coalitions kept distance. Pride submitted. For 4 years, the Mapogo had moved through Sabi sands without anything capable of stopping them. In June 2010, the collision came. 2 Mapogo males, Mr. T and Kinky Tail, found the oldest Majingilane male alone, feeding on a buffalo carcass. He had no brothers near him. The odds were 2 against 1, and the Mapogo knew how to use numbers. Mr. T locked his jaws around the male's neck. Kinky Tail attacked from behind. By the time it ended, the Magingilane's spine was broken. He died hours later in the grass where he had fallen. The remaining four brothers tracked Kinky Tail that same night. This is the part that trackers still talk about. Not just that they found him, but how. Coordinated, quiet, closing from multiple angles on a dirt road where shadows gave them cover. Kinky Tail had no warning before they were on him. 4 lions against 1. They pinned him, snapped his spine, held him down while he was still alive. Mr. T arrived, saw 4 Majingilane standing over what remained of his brother. He turned and left. The battle lasted one night. What it ended took 4 years to build. Mapogo dominance in central and eastern Sabi sands broke apart at that dirt road in the dark. The night watchman had answered blood with blood, and the ground understood who owned it now. 8 years, 4 lions, 5 prides, a territory edge that stretched over 60 kilometers if you walked every boundary they defended. Darkmane and Scarnose moved as a pair almost without exception. Where one fed, the other watched. Where one challenged, the other flanked. First mating rights went to them. Other prides, other males, other coalitions read their presence and calculated odds before making moves. The calculation almost always came back the same. Golden Mane kept slightly apart. He hunted with his brothers but disappeared for stretches, walking edges of territory that the others rarely crossed. He was still Majingilane, still showed up when it counted, but his orbit was wider, his independence just visible enough to notice. Hipscar was different. He walked with the coalition but was never fully inside it. His calls went out across grass and rock and did not always get answered. He ate after the others, held ground when they moved on. Rangers who watched closely saw something the 4 brothers could not fully hide, a fracture too small to matter in good years, too large to survive bad ones. Inside the prides they controlled, the cycle never stopped. New females were brought in through force. Cubs that carried other males' blood were killed. Lionesses that fought back were held down until they stopped. Then, when they were ready, the Majingilane sired cubs of their own. At least 34 survived to be counted. Many more carried their genetics without ever being recorded. Across 5 prides in a territory that took a day to cross, their bloodlines spread through the grass of Sabi sands like water through dry ground. No major internal fights were recorded across 8 years. 4 males sharing kills, sharing mates, sharing ground without fracturing. In lion coalitions, this almost never happens. Brotherhood holds through hunger and injury until it does not, and then it collapses fast and completely. The Majingilane held longer than anyone who watched them expected, but age does not ask permission, and it does not wait. By 2016, the signs were there for anyone watching closely enough to read them. Manes that had once been thick and dark came in thin and patchy. Bodies that had once carried muscle lost it to years of constant movement, constant patrolling, constant fighting with prey that hit back as hard as the Majingilane hit. Buffalo do not die easily. Over 8 years, the kills had added up, not in glory, but in damage. Hipscar went first. His ankle had been injured in a hunt years before, and it never healed completely. The others noticed. The gap between him and his brothers widened, not in distance, but in something harder to name. The kind of separation that happens before a group admits it is one fewer. He was found alone, thin, barely moving. He faded in early 2017 without the others near him. Golden Mane disappeared shortly after. A bad buffalo hunt was reported. At his age, that was enough. Aging lions do not recover from serious injury. The body that once carried him through ambushes and territorial fights could not carry him through this one. He was gone before rangers could find where he had fallen. Two remained, Darkmane and Scarnose, the core pair that had been inseparable since the beginning, still together, still moving, but gaunt now. The territory that 4 lions had held was too large for 2 aging males. Young coalition smelled the change. Rivals tested edges that had once been answered immediately. The Night Watchmen were running out of night. By 2017, Dark Mane was seen on Sabi land, emaciated, moving slowly through grass that had once belonged to him without question. Scarnose appeared on Londolozi, gaunt, the bearing of a male who had already decided something was over. They had finally separated, the last thing to break between them after 8 years of holding together. No rival coalition finished them. The Mapogo had been beaten. Younger males had been turned back at the borders. What ended the Majingilane was the same thing that ends everything in the mountains and valleys and plains: time and the body giving out under the weight of what it had done. Dark Mane's body was never found. Rangers who had watched him for 8 years did not find a carcass, did not find bones. He walked into the grass at the end and did not come back. For a lion of his standing, this seemed right to the people who had followed him. The Majingilane did not rule through chaos. They ruled through staying together when everything argued against it, through answering violence with coordination, through holding territory not by being the loudest, but by being the most consistent force on the land. Their cubs still walk Sabi sands. Their bloodline moves through the same grass, crosses the same rivers, holds the same kind of silence before a hunt. The Night Watchmen are gone. What they built is not. If this story stayed with you, subscribe. There are more coalitions, more rivalries, and more battles still left to tell.